Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 12th and final round.
Right hand, Golovkin steps in and down he goes again. Unbelievable. Mayweather makes a pay. What a rookie mistake. A sensational left hook by De La Hoya.
It's fact. I'm the best. You know what I mean? Sometimes I don't want to believe it myself, but it's the truth. I'm the best.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
From Southern California, this is the Last Round Podcast.
Welcome back to episode 177 of the Last Round Podcast. Thank you again for joining us. Let's just jump right back into it. This past Saturday, the 14th of May, from the Dignity Health Sports Park, formerly the StubHub Center and formerly the Home Depot Center. And they're also trying to call it, quote unquote, the Punch Bowl. I saw that in a couple press releases from PBC and Showtime. Not a fan. Let's just keep it the War Grounds, how Southern California knows it, and a lot of boxing fans know it. I'm not a fan of the Punch Bowl. I'm not a fan. But like I said, this past Saturday, the 14th, from the Dignity Health Sports Park in Carson, California, on Showtime, Jermell Charlo gets the knockout in the 10th round against Brian Charlo-Castaño. And Charlo is now the undisputed super welterweight champion at 154 pounds. This was a rematch from last year, which they fought to a draw. Hey, man, up until that knockout, that stoppage, it was a great fight. It was a great fight. They went at it. They had their moments. That's why I think last week when we previewed this fight and we talked about it, I don't think I picked anybody because I felt like I thought it was a 50-50 fight. I was like, I don't know. I really don't know who's going to win. And up until Charlo got him, I think it was anybody's game at the moment. But I think Castaño, even though he lost, he still opened the door, and it won't happen. I don't think PBC, Al Heyman, and Charlo are going to want to go for a trilogy fight. But I think Castaño made a good case. A pretty solid case to get a trilogy fight out of it. I mean, there you have a draw, then he loses in a knockout, but up until that point he was knocked out. He was having his moments. It was a great fight. Why not give us a trilogy? They're not going to give us a trilogy right away. They're not. If anything, it's going to be years down the line, like seemingly how Canelo Triple G kind of do it, even though we haven't really had trilogy from them. But either way, above all, it was a great fight. It looks like it was a great turnout of fans at the War Grounds right there in Carson, California. It looks like it was a great turnout. They had some celebrities, some athletes, some rappers, Hollywood stars in the audience. So that was cool. You know, it brings a lot more buzz to an event like that. And you got to give it to Charlo, man. He's definitely showing up his brother at 160 pounds. The 154 Charlo is not somebody to mess with, man. And he's went through the ringer. I mean, especially after that loss to Tony Harrison, and then he comes back and he beats Harrison. I'm a fan, man. I'm a fan, and Castaño, I'm a fan too. I'm a fan. Would you arguably say that they are both the top two 154 pounders in the world, even after that fight?
I mean, yes, the fight itself was, a great back and forth fight for a while. And then you could kind of see that Charlo was, slowly but surely, taking over. But still, great fight. One of the candidates definitely for a fight of the year, in my opinion. And yeah, it was just good. Like I said before on the show, I'm definitely a resume guy. I want to see those names. Like, I won't just, give somebody huge praise off that one performance. And both of the Charlos in their last, few fights, have shown that. They've been in there with some good names, and Charlo now is undisputed at 154. And I think he's probably got maybe a couple of fights left at 154. Then does he move up? Because there's somebody, that's in the PBC with him that's, become a bit of an animal over the last year or so. The Towering Inferno, would we see, Charlo in with him next? We know how PBC
likes fight. That'd be a great fight.
Great fight. Both of them like to, get in there and scrap. Fundora really doesn't use that huge size that he does. He really likes to fight up close and on the inside. So that'd be a great fight. And we also know that PBC like to keep things in-house. But yeah, I think, like you said, I think Charlo definitely is the best in the world at 154 now. I don't really think there's anybody else in that division close. Probably the closest two, I would say, of recent performance is Castaño and Fundora, and he's just beaten Castaño. I think maybe now we get the trilogy, but if he wants to stay at 154, let Charlo go and fight Fundora, let Castaño go away and fight somebody else, somebody, Liam Smith, Tim Zhu, something like that.
Right.
Let Castaño have like 1 or 2 fights to earn the trilogy. I don't think because he's just beaten him and he knocked him out, even though it was a close fight, let them earn it. Sometimes you want them both to go away, fight somebody else, and then come back. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't. If they decided to do it straight away, if that was the biggest payday and the best fight for Charlo and Castaño, then I definitely wouldn't turn down a trilogy. And it's just great to see, the best in the division, fighting each other. And I think over this year and maybe last year, I think we have seen it. We said how rare it was that we got an undisputed champion, and we've had how many in the last year or two, which is good to see. But then at times you also think, now all the belts are with that one guy, then other people can't pick one up. So we moan when we don't get it, and then we moan when we do, because it's hard for someone else to pick up a world title who sometimes we feel is deserving.
Right. Absolutely. But you got to give Charlo all the credit. He went through the trenches at 154 pounds. He fought a lot of the best guys in the world. Even taking a loss, like I said, from Harrison, then coming back and winning. I think that fight was in Ontario too, right? In Ontario, California, here in Southern California.
Yeah, the Tony Harrison fight was, yeah.
Right. And going back to rematch after fighting to a hard-fought draw with Brian Castaño last year, coming back and stopping him in the 10th round, unifying all 4 major belts at 154 pounds. Like you said, we moan about it, or we moan about it that we never see these undisputed fights and these fighters never fight for undisputed, but Charlo did it. He did it. We've been fortunate enough to see it during the last couple of years with Teofimo Lopez, Josh Taylor. Terrence Crawford was obviously a little bit more a couple of years ago, but Canelo at 168 and now Charlo 154. Hey, man, I mean, I would love to see what the history books say about the span of undisputed matchups and the ultimate winners during, a year span or 2-3 year spans or something like that. I would love to see that. Like, is this a historic record? Like, oh, we've had this many amount of undisputed matchups during the last 3 years, 4 years, 3 years, whatever. Is that the most in that span of time? Because like you said, we never really see them because they're hard, because there's a lot of promotional politics. There's a lot of sanctioning body politics. A lot of fighters don't want to fight for all the belts or more than one because they have to pay all these sanctioning fees to all these sanctioning bodies, which Andre Ward, I don't know if you saw, but he was interviewed recently. And I think he was interviewed by
Kate Abdo.
Yeah, the commentator. And he gave his opinion on the sanctioning bodies, and they take too much. 3% is too much. And then as you get more power in the boxing world as a star, you can negotiate that. And then he uses Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather as examples. He was like, you think they paid 3%? He's like, no way.
He was wrong, though, because it maxes out at 250.
Isn't he right at 3%?
Yeah, but the maximum they can take, if your purse is 30 million, it maxes out at 250,000.
Oh, is that what it says on the online or something?
They said that's. I've read that and seen that online.
You think they follow it though? I mean, like, at the end of the day, these aren't government commissions. These aren't public commissions for these states. These are private companies. They're private companies who can kind of manipulate their rankings. Like we've talked to people in the business, and fighters included, who say, "Oh yeah, those rankings don't matter." The promoter or just calls up the head of whatever sanctioning body, like, hey, put my guy in top 5, top 10 or something like that. I mean, honestly, the rules that they have, they never follow. Look at the WBC franchise belt, and then you can't fight for it, and then they end up letting people fight for it, and it's a designation, and it's like, oh, now you can defend it and all this stuff, and it's like, oh, well, he's a franchise champion, so Lomachenko is a franchise. Devin Haney, you can fight for the other one. Like, okay, who's the champion here? It's all politics. It's all politics. I wouldn't take that max 250,000, as the gospel truth, as they say. I'm sure there's been times where if they see a big purse, they might try to push it a little bit, like, hey, we deserve more. We promote you all the time, and so I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, obviously, behind the scenes, they only know, but
I guarantee you that if Fury sits out for a little bit, we're kind of going off subject here, but remember when Klitschko retired and they made him a WBC emeritus, or however you pronounce it?
Yeah.
And if he comes back out of retirement, he gets a shot at whoever's holding the WBC. So then they get two. They'll do a little tournament, get money from that. Tyson Fury decides to come back. He gets a title shot straight away. They get money from that.
Yeah. I mean, you also got to think about it too. Like, if ideally it maxes out at 250,000, don't both fighters pay a fee? Even the fighter doesn't have the belt, don't they actually pay a fee to fight for the belt?
I think it's just. Are
you sure?
That's a good question.
I think both fighters, even the fighter that comes into the ring as the title holder, I think they also pay a fee to fight for that belt. I think so. So it could be max 250 for this fighter, but they get money out of this fighter's pocket too. So, it's more than 250. I mean, who knows? Who knows? We'll do some digging, see if we can get you guys some answers, and we'll do some digging behind the scenes and see what we can find out. I'm sure we can find out some stuff. But going back to Charlo, undisputed at 154, like you said, Fundora's out there, which would be a great fight. I'm sure Showtime PBC is angling for that fight. I'm thinking, is Charlo going to take that fight? Because Fundora showed with the Lubin fight, he can fight, he can scrap.
The problem he has is his brother. If he moves up,
and they won't fight each other. I mean, do you think it'll be the Klitschko thing where they don't fight each other? You think they might be, hey, we'll fight each other?
The way that those two argue, you've probably got more chance of those two fighting than you do the Klitschkos. But I would imagine for the family, I'm sure, like, mom and dad and stuff like that, wouldn't let it happen. But they are a lot more boisterous, to argue a lot more than the Klitschko brothers did. But would you say it's wrong in me saying that Charlo is only 35-1 because he hasn't faced Jesse Vargas?
I think it's a very good point. But Jesse Vargas is coming off a loss against Liam Smith. So if he would have beat Smith, we would have been banging the drums for Vargas Charlo.
For regular listeners of the show, they'll know that's a joke.
Not a joke, not to me. Never a joke to me. But for Jermell Charlo, like I said, I know he's cracked some people's pound for pound, especially after that win. It's the subjective pound for pound list. Let's throw that in there. Everybody's kind of moving around, but it gets a lot of attention, those pound for pound lists. Hey, the wild card. We talked about Fundora. We talked about
Tim Tszyu.
We talked about Castaño rematch from Trilogy.
Lubin, Tony Harrison.
Yeah. We talked about all those guys, but let's not forget, even though it's a long shot, Jaime Munguia. Oh no, he's at 160 now. I'm sorry. Wait, but with the other Charlo, the 160 Charlo, Jermall, that's also a shot. But at 154, your wild card, Terrence Crawford.
That's if he doesn't get the Spence fight.
Terrence Crawford is your wild card.
I would be interested, but I mean, we'd all want to see the fight, Terrence Crawford, Spence, and then in a perfect world, we'd get, Crawford, Spence. The winner of that moves up and faces Charlo. Then they've unified the 147. They move up and, attempt the undisputed at 154 in a perfect world.
Do you think Crawford would do that? Let's just say he fights Spence by the end of the year. He beats Spence. He becomes undisputed at 147 pounds welterweight. And he's okay. I'm done. I'm going to 154. Charlo, undisputed fight, 154 back-to-back undisputed fights, essentially.
Well, three-time undisputed if you won them both.
140, 147, 154. Oh my gosh. Just imagine that. Just imagine that. And I know we talk about resume. Hey, if he did that, yeah, I don't care what Canelo does or anybody else. Like, Crawford's are going to be your pound for pound for like the next 3 years because of that.
That'd be an amazing way to retire.
Yeah.
Spence, 154 undisputed against Charlo. You know, if he was, won both of those, then just, hey, I'm out. Boom, done.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah. And I think a Charlo Crawford fight at 154 pounds, it would be exciting. It would be exciting.
Definitely. Yeah.
It would be exciting because Charlo's naturally the bigger guy. Crawford has a better boxing skill, but he is going up to fight a bigger guy who's has some great names on his resume, who became undisputed 154 pounds the hard way, and who could fight.
Crawford's freaky strong as well.
No, you're right.
I remember he had a video on not long back of him deadlifting a crazy amount of weight for somebody his size. Like, he's crazy strong.
Yeah. Who knows? Those are obviously just fantasy matchups, but I think Showtime PBC is going to try their hardest to give Fundora a shot. I think they really are. They're going to try to give Fundora a shot, Fundora Charlo, and they're going to make that fight either in Texas or LA.
And he's crossed over. He has crossed over because of the size of him and because of his style. And, and the fight against, was it Lubin, his last fight, when Fundora fought Lubin, right? Where he beat him up pretty bad.
Yeah.
He has crossed over. You see a lot more people like at my work and stuff like that. That's how I know that, people have kind of crossed over to, more of your casual fans when they bring it up to me at work.
Right.
Yeah, he's crossed over. So I think
that was an exciting fight and it caught people's attention.
It definitely did. That's why I think it would be a really good fight for PBC. And Fundora, I don't think is in the sort of realm of being able to turn down, those fights. And would you turn down like a big fight against, Charlo for a career payday and a chance at the undisputed?
I'm telling you, Fundora's marketable. He's a great talker. He's very polite.
Yeah.
He seems like he's very professional and he can fight.
He did comms, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
He was really good at that.
Right. Exactly. So if he wins, I can see a lot of mainstream media picking it up because how tall he is and at the weight he's at. Because of that, be like, 6'7", 150-pound man wins boxing world title or something like that, and people will be like, what the hell, 6'6", 6'5", whatever, 150 pounds. And that title alone would be the headline. I'm telling you. Like, yeah, I don't know if Charlo would take that fight. I don't know, because that is a tough fight. Just because of Fundora's length and his size, and he's not afraid to fight on the inside, even though how big he is. But yeah, but like at the end of the day, give some credit to Jermell Charlo, unifying and becoming undisputed at 154 pounds. That was great for the sport, and it keeps happening. So hopefully we see maybe a heavyweight matchup at 100 undisputed later on down the line, maybe next year or something. Also on the card, Jaron Boots Ennis remains undefeated at 29-0 as he gets a second round KO over Castillo Clayton, who takes the first loss of his career, I believe. Quick night. Ennis makes a quick night. We thought this was going to be a pretty okay matchup. We knew Boots Ennis was a favorite, but we thought, Clayton's got some good pedigree, but I think Ennis probably hurt us, and he made it a quick night. What'd you think?
He's just amazing, isn't he? He really is
man.
Good.
He's good.
Just give him a title shot now.
Yeah, I think he's there.
Either that or start giving him a name, like a name or something like that. I mean, do you give him the winner or the loser of like Spence and Crawford?
I don't think
that's not been made yet. Like, do you think do they just ignore it and put Spence in with Ennis?
No. I think because obviously the priority is Crawford, especially with Spence calling him out after he beat who was Spence's last fight?
Ugas,
yeah. Calling him out, saying he wants Crawford. Spence, even if Showtime PBC want to go another direction against Ennis, Spence will tell them. I feel like he's at that point. He's like, no, this is a legacy fight. Let's become legendary. Make the Crawford fight. They're gonna try their hardest to make the Crawford fight. If they don't, if it's really not made, Spence Crawford, I don't necessarily think that there wasn't an attempt. I think that's just the minor details that maybe both sides didn't like or Crawford's team didn't like. But yeah, I'd be surprised if Ennis gets a shot before Crawford. But Crawford probably had to agree to a multi-fight deal with PBC Showtime. So that's the thing. And honestly, let's just say ideally if Spence wins, beats Crawford, becomes undisputed, I don't see Spence fighting Ennis. I think he's going to be like, all right, I'm done. I'll vacate him. I'm going up to 154. And honestly, I wouldn't blame him for it. People are going to be like, oh, he's dodging Boots Ennis. Like, no, this was Spence's division. It's still Spence's division way before Ennis got there. And
would kind of work out well for PBC. Like Crawford and Spence fight. The winner regardless, moves up, has a chance at Charlo. And then that vacates all the belts for, Ennis to pick up whatever.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they're all going to be scattered. WBO is going to go Top Rank or Frank Warren or whoever the hell. All the belts are going to be scattered, of course.
Yeah,
Virgil Ortiz, Golden Boy.
Perfect for like Ennis, Conor Benn, Virgil Ortiz if he stays at that weight.
Exactly, yeah.
Perfect for all of the top rank PBC and everybody. They'll be like a last.
Yeah, they're going to be like, oh, yes, the treasure chest is open.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we will see. But like you said, Ennis, yeah, he's different, man. He's different. I'm starting to believe that he would beat Virgil Ortiz if they fought. If they fought now.
He's definitely the more well-rounded, isn't he? Definitely, yeah. I think.
It would still be a great fight, but I think people might be picking right. If Ennis fought Ortiz now, yeah. Maybe later on down the line, obviously, it'll be a better fight as they both get older. But yeah, Ennis is definitely the real deal. And he needs a live body, like one of the major names. He called out Errol Spence at that fight, but obviously Spence isn't going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, but I'm going after Crawford. Put Ennis in there with Thurman, Danny Garcia, one of those guys. Throw him in there. We'll see. We will see. Moving on. Also, this past Saturday from the Forum in Inglewood, California, on Triller, Sergey Kovalev returns to the ring. The Crusher Kovalev and gets a 10-round unanimous decision win over Kovalev-Pulev. I believe this was a cruiserweight fight. Kovalev's first official fight at cruiserweight. What do you think about Kovalev's performance?
Gone are the days of the Crusher. It looks like we've gone back to the amateur style Kovalev under Buddy McGurk. I think obviously he's realized, his days have been the Crusher, beyond him. And now I think we're going to get more of, in and out boxing performances whilst he's, with Buddy McGurk. And really hard to say, I think moving up in weight, this was more of, how does he perform just at the weight and stuff like that? How does his body feel? Because, Pulev wasn't really a live dog at all. And you could see early on that, Kovalev was really just going to more of a sparring session for him, just at distance, just in and out, some smart boxing and just win it on the cards. So it'll be interesting to see kind of where he goes from here. And is he going to stay with Triller? Because I think he should have had one more fight with DAZN until his
allegations,
his problems with the law. I'm guessing DAZN maybe cut him, or maybe there was an exit in the clause.
Wait, didn't he have another fight with DAZN? Wasn't it at Fantasy Springs for Golden Boy?
He had, I think, because he had the Kovalev, the Canelo fight, and then two more. I think he had one more, and then there was supposed to be a third, I believe, and then because they were all at really, really good money, weren't they, to entice him into that Canelo fight? And then I think whilst he was in camp, all that stuff happened, and we never saw it, if I remember correctly.
maybe there's like a moral clause or something in the contract that gave DAZN a way out.
Yeah.
I mean, they're there, man. Those are there. But like you said, yeah, the days of the Crusher are gone. But he's still there at 39 years old. And like you said, he had it. This was his first fight since his knockout loss to Canelo Alvarez in November 2019, just before the pandemic. But look, he's gonna still try. He's gonna still try and see if maybe he can make a name for himself at cruiserweight. But it's obviously a bigger weight, and it's the biggest gap between weight classes. So
he must want it because I don't know his finances, but he's had some good purses. He's had a lot. He was 2-time light heavyweight champion before the Canelo fight, and I'm sure those purses are really, really good. And unless he's literally gone and blown anywhere between,
I don't know. I've heard that for the Andre Ward fights that he wasn't paid that well. Like, they really like cornered him, especially in the rematch. Like, that's what I heard. I don't know. I've heard it from some pretty reliable people, but that his pay wasn't what people thought.
Well, maybe he's drank it all then.
You never know. You never know. But yeah. Also on the card, another Pulev, Kubrat Pulev gets the unanimous decision win over 10 rounds against Jerry Forrest. This was Pulev's return to the ring since his loss to Anthony Joshua. What did you think about this matchup?
Boring, really. Forrest started okay. Pulev then took over. Forrest looked like he gassed out in the middle rounds, and Pulev just didn't decide to step on the pedal and get him out of there. I thought he probably could have done, but both of them looked pretty washed. And yeah, I think gone are the days of the Pulev who was in there with Joshua and those guys. I think he's just probably just going to be more of a gatekeeper now. I know he's 29-2, and obviously looking at his ledger, that looks respectable. And I'm sure we could probably see him in there with somebody else, like an up-and-coming guy, Daniel Dubois or a Joe Joyce or something, just to get, the Kubrat Pulev name on their ledger. But yeah, he's not challenging anymore. He looks... Father Time's caught up with him.
I can see that, though. You're right. Like, Joe Joyce or something, get Pulev's name on the resume.
Hrgovic, any of those up-and-coming guys.
Hrgovic, yeah. I can see that. You're right. I can see that. I think that's on the path that Kubrat Pulev is now on. But he, going back to this fight, his unanimous decision win, he won with the scores of 98-92 and 99-91 twice. He's 41 years old, no longer a top contender, but it seems like he's still fighting. See if he can get a couple more paydays out of it. Maybe fight one of these young up-and-coming contenders in the heavyweight division, like you said.
Triller seemed to like him, and I think if we remember correctly, Michael Hunter's with Triller, so we could see those two, put together.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I'm sure that if they have him locked down to Triller, both of those fighters for long term or at least multi fights, I'm sure that's what they're going to try to make. Moving on, in an upset, I would say, Jermaine McDonald, 7-5, gets the second round knockout over Evan Holyfield, who was on the show a couple months back. Evan Holyfield, obviously the son of the real deal, Evander Holyfield. Evan takes the first loss of his professional career. I think Evan, based on that fight, was maybe underestimating McDonald. If you look at how he got knocked out, it was a lazy jab. Yeah. It was a lazy jab. If you watch it, Holyfield just puts his jab out, but it's so lazy, and it looks like he kept doing that. And McDonald he just timed it, lazy jab, just to put it out there, just to kind of put something out there. He wasn't really trying to land it. He just threw it out there, and McDonald he didn't really have to use that much energy. He just got out of the way and comes over the top with the right hand, and it's like, dude, don't give a lazy jab, even if you think the guy you're fighting, you're actually going to beat him. Even though he has 5 losses, he's still a professional fighter. And it obviously cost him. And you could see Evan Holyfield was upset. The referee, was it Raul Kais Jr.? Or I forgot. It'll come to me right now. But as he was counting him while Holyfield was on the floor, he got to 8 And that's when Holyfield started to get up. But the count was going so fast, I felt that even if the referee let him get up, he wasn't going to make it all the way up to his feet by the count of 10. Because he started getting up after like he hit 8. And I thought, oh, okay, like, what is he going to like? And then I'm actually kind of glad in a way that the referee stopped it after he hit the 8 count. He looked at him and he stopped, he waved it. And then Holyfield was mad. And he's like, no. And he screams and he kind of pushes him. He pushes the ref kind of just enough. And you can see he's upset. But I was thinking at that moment, watching it, I was thinking that if the referee kept counting and he gets the 10 and Holyfield's not all the way up, but he's in the process of getting up, and then he waves it off, I feel like Evan Holyfield, maybe, obviously I'm speculating, but he would have blamed the referee. He's like, no, I was getting up and he counted me out. I wasn't knocked out. I was getting up. That would have been his like scapegoat excuse. But the referee stopped it. He stopped it. But even then, like, I don't think he was going to get up on time. The referee was already at 8 and he was like barely moving to get up. So, yeah, back to the drawing board, I guess, for Evan Holyfield, taking his first losses of his career. Hey, man, one loss isn't going to define you. There's a lot of guys who have taken losses. They come back. They still have a great career. Let's just see if he can do it. What do you think?
No, I thought you summed it up well. I thought the same thing. It seemed to be like a lazy jab, and he just timed it. He saw it coming. It was just like either like a rangefinder or he's just putting something out there so McDonald couldn't pressurize him, come close. He just timed it perfectly, clocked him straight on the chin. Down he went. And he did look like a little bit unsteady, but like you said, it's now we get to see how much does Evan Holyfield want it. McDonald obviously didn't read the script, that he was coming in as the B-side. He was coming in as the opponent. So now we get to see, does Evan Holyfield want to be Evan Holyfield, or was he just being a boxer because he has the Holyfield last name? He was just trying to earn, some checks, some extra cheese off the fact that, Evander Holyfield was his father. I really like the way that, he kind of went to social media. He didn't blame anybody. He took it on the chin. He just put out a little message like, hey, guys, like, I'm fine. Like, I'll be back. And I was like, you know what? That shows his maturity. We could see that when we interviewed him. He's very, very mature. And I really liked that. And I thought that going forward, that'll stand him in good stead. And I don't think I'm not saying he's going to be a world champion, but I think, the way that he is and how mature he is, that I think whatever his potential is, I'm sure he will fulfill it, whether that's just picking up some regional titles or something like that. Not everybody goes out there and not everybody has the skills, to be a world champion. But I think Evan will, he'll fulfill whatever his potential is.
Right. No, yeah, I agree with that. Let's see where he is. I think he can still bounce back from it. He's young enough. Let's see what happens. But yeah, like I said, it was a lazy jab, man. It was a lazy jab, and McDonald just like, okay, you're going to do that? Boom. It was easy. It was like a perfectly set up knockout. He's like, okay, he obviously recognized he was just throwing a punch out there just to kind of keep his body moving and kind of show some hand tricks there. And he's like, okay, boom, I'll show you. Don't do that. But yeah, it is what it is. Also on that card, the Vargas dynasty, what they're calling themselves, Fernando Vargas, Fernando Vargas, his kids, all 3 boys, I believe it's 3 boys, Fernando Jr., Amato, and Emiliano all fought on the card. They were all victorious. They did a lot of media this week, during the last couple weeks, promoting this event. They were all, I think this was the first one. I don't know if it's the first time, but the first time all 3 brothers were on a card, like a commercial card like this. And I think I forgot which brother it was. It was his pro debut, Emiliano, I believe.
Yeah, I think they all won. I think 2 won by knockout, 1 went to points, and I think they had, was it Robert Garcia and Big G?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. So, hey, man, let's see how that turns out. I saw a couple interviews with them where they were saying it's obviously difficult to live up to the name, but they're ready to do it. So, hey, if they all turn out to be good, and 10 years from now, we're talking about all 3 brothers, like, hey, man, they're all good. You never know. Also, this past Saturday from the Toyota Arena in Ontario, California on DAZN. Mike, you were there in person covering for the last round. Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez remains undefeated at 44-0. 44-0 with the fourth round knockout over Dominic Boesel. As I mentioned, Zurdo Ramirez is still undefeated. It looked like a mismatch. You were obviously there in person. Was it a mismatch? What'd you think?
You could just see when they walked out and Zurdo got into the ring and the rumor going around the crowd, I think it came from DAZN that he'd put 29 pounds on since the weigh-in.
He could be a cruiserweight.
It was just a complete and utter mismatch. He looked absolutely enormous next to Dominic Boesel. And you can see early on, I think he hit him with a couple of shots in the first round, and you could see Boesel was like, okay, that's it. I'm just going to try and cover up and just go as many rounds as he could. Because at times, he would just cover up and not really throw anything back. Ramirez would just come in, throw a few shots, a couple of hooks, kind of like back away. And I think it was in the third round, he went to the corner and the referee even went over, and you could see that his coach were kind of gesturing to him like, hey, I'm going to give you like one more round. You want to show me something or I'm putting you out. And obviously he went in there and stopped him anyway.
Right. Yeah. Hey, man, at least he got the win, which everybody expected. I saw a video, I think the Golden Boy Promotions tweeted out that De La Hoya was in the ring, and then he looks at the camera. He's like, hey, he wants Bivol. Honestly, I wouldn't mind that matchup. Ramirez and Bivol at 175 pounds. I think it'd be kind of exciting. I'd be for it. I hope it happens. And they're both DAZN. Obviously, Golden Boy has Ramirez in hopes, and they signed Ramirez, I'm assuming for one reason or another, but signing Ramirez in hopes of landing a Canelo matchup to entice Canelo, like, let's fight 175 or something like that. But now that Bivol upset Canelo, they're going after Bivol. I mean, I could see it. If Canelo legitimately does not take the rematch against Dimitri Bivol, I can see Golden Boy and DAZN saying, okay, let's make Bivol Ramirez later this year. I'm all for it, man. I'm a fan of that matchup. I'm a fan. Mexican style against that Eastern European style. I think that's a great matchup. So we'll see. I'm sure Golden Boy is going to wait to see what Canelo decides for the rematch. If Canelo does, like I said, he does not choose to proceed with the rematch against Dimitri Bivol, I see Golden Boy doing everything they can to tell DAZN, hey, all right, Ramirez Bivol at the end of this year. Let's make it happen in LA. I could see it. What do you think? Is that realistic?
I mean, I would love the fight. Absolutely love the fight. In the light heavyweight division, just looking at it now, you've got, Bivol, Benavid, Callum Smith, Joe Smith, Vlasov, Marcus Brown, Buatsi, Sullivan Barrera, Anthony Yard, Craig Richards. There's plenty of fights there that, are attainable. There's, Golden Boy and Matchroom, both on DAZN. Yeah, there's plenty of fights that, could be made. The Canelo Ramirez fight, though, that would be, there's something in it in the, ex Golden Boy Matchroom, Oscar, Eddie.
It has a lot of drama built in that you can exploit marketing wise.
Canelo, Oscar, against each other. Canelo trying to prove something. He's the new Golden Boy. Ramirez is the new, the new guy, the new Canelo. So it's interesting. So that probably means that we won't get it.
Yeah, probably not. But
just because we want to see it.
You could dream. Yeah. DAZN. It would have to be DAZN's position to try to convince Canelo to fight a Golden Boy fighter like Zurdo Ramirez. Because Canelo's not going to want to do it willingly. I mean, he might if Ramirez earns his spot to get to that point. But Golden Boy would have to ask DAZN, hey, can you talk to Canelo? Can you talk to Eddie Hearn? Mostly to Canelo, and see if he's willing to make the fight. Because obviously Golden Boy probably knows, okay, well, we can't go and talk to him. He's not gonna he's not going to give us the time of day, but we'll see. We will see. Also on the card, Williams Zepeda remains undefeated as 26-0 with a 10-round unanimous decision win over Rene Alvarado. This was for the WBA Continental America's lightweight title. Zepeda, man, he's getting there. He's getting there. Is he ready? Is he ready to take the next step? Get one of the bigger lightweights or a decent name at lightweight?
Great fight, great back and forth fight. And if there was a few people in the crowd and in the media section that thought Alvarado won, thought that he, threw a lot, thought that he actually connected with some, better and flusher shots on Zepeda. But Zepeda did go in probably as the A side and Alvarado more as the B side. But great fight, unbelievable fight, just back and forth, back and forth. So many punches thrown. If CompuBox were on this one, it would have been, it'd have been hard work to try to keep up with how many shots have been thrown and how many were connecting. But yeah, good for Zepeda. Where does he go from now? The lightweight division is stacked. So it'll be, interesting to see, like, who do they put him in with? Ryan Garcia? Would they put those two together? They're both golden boy.
You don't think Zepeda's too dangerous for Ryan?
Oh, 100% he is. We'd love to see it. He's 100%
Golden Boy would. See, I don't even think Golden Boy would do that because I think they know. Oh man, can't disrupt the train with Ryan Garcia here, even if it is another Golden Boy fighter.
Yeah, I mean it's he's good to watch though. Both of them, Alvarado and Zepeda, just never really boring
Alvarado.
fights.
Tell me if you agree with this or not, but Alvarado is in that stage where he's kind of like a Gabriel Rosado.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, he's definitely a. I mean, he had that little purple patch, recently where he picked up, a title for a period of time. But yeah, he's still good though. When you see him on a card, you're like, okay, this is going to be a good fight. It's just going to be a good fight.
Golden Boy, man, they put out some pretty competitive matchups, and a lot of the Southern California LA fans notice it because Golden Boy is an LA based promoter, but everybody needs to pay attention to those undercard matchups that Golden Boy puts on because they put their fighters to the test. Like, okay, sink or swim, let's go.
They don't. I would say they're good, but they don't have those stellar names, do they? They don't have those big names. But Robert Diaz does match well. They
did at one time. They had all the major names that you see right now.
Yeah, they did, but Robert Diaz does match well. And like you said, there are a few people in the stable who you look at and you think, man, like a Lexus Rocha, like some of the fights that he's had with lesser known names, but who are absolute animals,
right?
Have unbelievable chins. I always sit there and think, man, like match him hard. But, like it looks like he's done him well. Now he's coming out the other end and he's experienced. He's got those rounds.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Running off the card, John Ramirez remains undefeated as well, 10-0 with the first round knockout and making it an early night over Jan Salvatierra. This was for the vacant NABA super flyweight title. What did you think about Ramirez's first round knockout?
What a knockout it was. Knocked him out the ring onto the cameraman who had to catch him and roll him back into the ring. Good fight. Scrappy's definitely he's got kind of everything. He's got a good entrance. He's very, very sure of himself, talks really, really well. Got a flashy style, got power. I think it's 10 wins with 8 KOs. So, he's definitely someone to watch. And, it's unusual, to have that kind of, knockout ratio in super flyweight.
Right.
So he's got a NABA, which is obviously connected to the WBA. So maybe he's going to go down that route and, look for somebody like a Joshua Franco in the future, which would be an easy fight for them to make, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah. And Franco's got reportedly a matchup with Estrada coming. I'm sure we'll touch on in a few minutes. Also this past weekend from the Accord Hotels Arena in Paris, France on ESPN Plus, Martin Bakole improves to 18-1 with a majority decision win over Tony Yoka, who takes the first professional loss of his career. And I believe Yoka was the favorite going into this fight. But Bakole puts a wrench in those plans with scores of 94-94, 95-93, and 96-92. What do you think about this matchup?
They tried to rob him. They tried the hardest to rob him. 94-94 when Bakole dropped him twice and nearly won every single minute of every single round. one of the worst scorecards I've ever seen in my entire life. It was funny because I was at home and I was like, you know what? I'll put ESPN on because I saw this was on. And I was like, you know what? I'll watch it whilst I get ready for the Golden Boy fights. And I watched the undercard and then this came on and I'm glad I did. Oh my God. Like literally 3 French judges in France and they tried to rob him. So it was like watching...
Aren't you more surprised?
It was similar was when Roy Jones Jr. got robbed at the Olympics. It was literally like that.
Aren't you more surprised, though, that like 3 French judges actually gave it to Martin Bakole? Like...
Yeah, but it was literally, dude, it was like he won nearly every single round.
You're right. No, yeah.
Robbed him twice.
I agree with
you.
Still
tried to do it.
But I think there's also a surprise factor here that they actually, 3 French judges, all 3 of them, gave him the fight. Like, he got it. In France.
They tried the hardest not to. It's like that old joke that, you know, I say on here now and again, is that he's going to have to knock him out to get a draw. That was literally that's what it was like. He literally had to do that. It was good though because to see that because Tony Yoka, like he beat or he robbed Joe Joyce in the Olympics, and then he had those failed drugs tests and stuff like that, you know, and took a, you know, didn't show up to missed 3 drugs tests, which you know is technically, you know, getting a positive and you get a ban and stuff like that. So to get in there and then, you know, fight Bakole, it was kind of sweet to see that, you know, Bakole just did a number on him and, you know, really kind of punished him. And then to see those scorecards, he just made you laugh. You just thought, geez, like, that's bad, you know, to go somewhere like that. I mean, that just shows you that they're not going to get many big fights in France. This wasn't a huge marquee fight. You know, I'm sure there was many casual boxing fans that had no idea this was on. And then they pull out scorecards like that. That's why some countries like France and other places like that won't get big fights when they're going to do atrocious scorecards like that.
Do you think we see a rematch?
Wasn't even close. Unless Yoka like literally just didn't do a camp because he was that confident in his skills and thought Bakole was going to be too big and slow. Because going into it, you know, Bakole did struggle when he fought Michael Hunter. You know, he's a very big, slow-moving heavyweight. And I thought, you know what, he might struggle with Yoka. Yoka's smaller, more agile, similar to, you know, Joshua and Usyk. You know, he's kind of like, he struggles with people that can move. And then when you saw Bakole in this one, yeah, just battered him. Absolutely battered him. I'm not too sure. Maybe down the line. I don't know if we'll see an immediate rematch. It wasn't really for a world title or anything like that. So I'm sure there's no rematch really written into it. So unless Yoka really, really wants it and decides to give Bakole the A side and the bigger chunk of the purse and maybe go over to Scotland or the UK to fight him. Maybe.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see as the months come forward. Moving on, this upcoming weekend, fight previews the 20th of May from the White Sands Event Center in Plant City, Florida. I think it's the first time we've ever shouted them out. Fane Long Meng, 17-0, goes up against Jean Pascal. Pascal still going, huh? What do you think about this fight? Pascal, shouldn't he hang him up already, or is he still got something left?
I forgot to put it on there. I apologize. It's on that new app, ProBox.
ProBox, that's right. ProBox TV, that's right.
I think it's like $2 a month to begin with, or if you want to just do a whole year, it's like $18 for a year. But yeah, it's a good matchup. You know, this is Jean Pascal coming back from his positive drugs test where he had pretty much every drug under the sun. I think he tested for.
Crazy.
And we did wonder why he was having, you know, so many good performances in the later years of his career. So I like Jean Pascal though. I like his style. I think he's a good fighter. I don't know whether I like steroid-free Jean Pascal. I definitely did like steroid.
You like drug cheat Jean Pascal.
Just
That's
like,
what you're saying.
Just like Alistair Overeem, Vita Belfort in the UFC. We
Give
all
us
loved him when they were on the juice.
Give us some entertainment with the drug cheats, right? That's what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Pascal. I think Pascal takes it. I think Pascal may be too young. Too young for him, and I think he just is a good fighter. I think he may old man him. It's going to be. I think it might be a good fight though, but I think Pascal will take it later. I think he's going to be too experienced, just old man's him, and you know, in his last few fights, he didn't actually look bad. And I know maybe because he was full of the juice, but he didn't look old and over the hill like Kovalev-Pulev did.
Yeah. Follow the juice. He was on the juice, like O.J. Simpson. You think O.J. was guilty or innocent? Also, this upcoming Saturday, the 21st. The White Sands Event Center in Florida, Pascal Main one is on Friday, and this upcoming Saturday, the 21st of May, from the O2 Arena in London on DAZN. This is a very intriguing fight. This is a very intriguing fight. Joshua Buatsi, 15-0, goes up against Craig Richards, 17-2-1. This could be a very, very good fight. What do you think?
Very good fight. Very good fight. Biggest test for Buatsi, somebody that we've kind of always spoken about as a prospect and stuff like that. But he's not. Look at his age. He's not a prospect.
Right.
And in terms of people that he turned pro with, he's a long way behind them. Look at Lawrence Okoli. Lawrence Okoli's already been a world champion. He's been a world champion for a while, and he's looking at moving to heavyweight. Buatsi's still working his way up due to injuries, changing trainer, stuff like that. So interesting, especially when you look at the close decision that Craig Richards, lost to Bivol. Bivol then went on and demolished,
exactly,
probably the pound for pound best at the minute in Canelo. So if Buatsi is what we think he is or thought he was going to be, he should take this. I think it's going to be I think Buatsi wins a close points decision.
You think so?
Just because of the performances, dude. Like,
I'm going Richards, man. I'm going for it. I'm going for Richards.
Going for the upset. Yeah.
I am going for the upset. I'm feeling an upset on this one. I don't know why. I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
Could be wrong. I'm just feeling it. I'm going with my gut.
Yeah, I don't know. Just Buatsi's had those injuries, changing trainer. I'm not a big fan of Virgil Hunter. I've said that before on here. Like, apart from Andre Ward, like, really, what has he done? And Andre Ward, it could have really just been one of those generational fighters like a Manny Pacquiao that he could have been with me, and won what he did because he's just that good.
If we get Virgil Hunter on, will you tell him that to his face?
I live substantially too far away from him for him to find out where I live.
Not to his face, to the camera. To the camera.
I'm
gonna do it. I'm gonna reach
not.
out to his team.
I probably wouldn't. To be honest with you.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna reach out.
Probably be really, really nice to him.
He's gonna be like, I heard you guys. I know who you are.
Sends me an emoji, like big finger, like to fuck off when I ask him to come on. But I think Buatsi. I think it's going to be close. I think Buatsi probably takes it. Hopefully, he can rise to the occasion.
Decision?
I think he wins the decision. Yeah, I think it goes all 12. It's just going to be a good fight, though. Two Brits as well.
Yeah, it's a good fight.
Really good. Yeah,
it's a good fight. I'm hoping it lives up to the hype. So it's a good fight they got over there. If I was right there, I'd want to go to that fight. So whoever's there
should be a good one.
Whoever's listening to us from the UK, our UK listeners, hey man, if you got nothing to do on Saturday, tickets aren't that expensive. You got some disposable income to use. Go check out that fight. That's a sneaky good fight right there. Check it out. Also this weekend, this Saturday, from the Gila River Arena in Glendale, Arizona, on Showtime, back-to-back Showtime cards, back-to-back weekends. David Benavid, 25-0, goes up against David Lemieux. This is for the WBC interim super middleweight title. I don't think Lemieux has it anymore. I think this is just a stay busy fight for Benavidez, and I'm sure when the fight's over, if Benavidez wins as expected, he's gonna call out Canelo. He'll call out Canelo. He might call out Bivol. You never know. Bivol says he can make 168. Benavidez is a pretty big guy. He probably should be at 175. But honestly, Benavidez should call out Plant. He should call out Caleb Plant. He should call out who else are we missing at 168?
Plant's the one, dude. They have that beef in the Mayweather gym.
Yeah. He should call out Caleb Plant. If he throws Canelo's name in there or whatever, fine. But Plant, that's who PBC and Showtime, that's who they should put those two together. Put them both together. Like Canelo said before the Bivol fight, he was like, let them all fight each other and I'll fight the winner. They would still want a Canelo fight at 168 pounds regardless, even if he doesn't fight Bivol again, even with the Bivol loss. They would still take that fight at 168. So if he doesn't call out Plant, I hope if it's Jim Gray who's in there post-fight in the ring, they better ask him about Caleb Plant. He's going to be
it's going to be a 3-time WBC champion.
And then he loses it. He loses it on the scale
with zero losses. That has to be a first.
It has to be, huh? He's going to be in the record books. Ridiculous.
In this fight, though, he literally just does what he's been doing lately. He just walks them down and just punishes them. Great to watch. He's a good interview. And dude, I think he's only still like 25.
Yeah, maybe just over it, but he's around that mid-20s, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a long way to go.
Yeah.
At least in age, at least. But yeah, let's see. But if Caleb
do you know who's on the undercard and got announced today?
Who?
Victor Ortiz.
What? Oh, you never know, man. He's trying to make a comeback, trying to get one last payday. You never know. Maybe Boots Ennis. Like, oh, let's put him in there with Victor Ortiz. That's a resume.
He's fighting like some random guy that's got like 21 wins, 19 losses.
I guess. Ortiz is the type of guy, if he wins, he's gonna call out like all the big guys. Like, I want Keith Thurman. Like, is this a welterweight fight?
Yeah, it's welterweight. Yeah.
Vicious Victor Ortiz, man. He's gonna try. He's gonna try to go for it. We'll see what happens. Also, this upcoming weekend from the Resorts World Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada, on ESPN Plus, Zanabek Akhmakanuli. Did I say it right?
Just call him Zanabek. I think everyone
Zanabek. Let's just call him Zanabek. 11-0 goes up against Danny Dignam. 14-0-1 for the WBO interim middleweight title. What do you think about this matchup?
Zanabek's just too good, dude. It really is. Big fight for Danny Dignam. Perfect for someone like him. He gets himself, highly ranked in the WBO. Gets to come over, gets a dream fight to fight in Las Vegas for somebody who's from the UK. But I'm sorry to say, Janabek I think he'll get him out of there, but I think it'll be pretty easy work. And I think Janabek's probably the reason that, Andrade will, disappear from the middleweight division and, stay up at super middleweight because he is good. He's all risk and pretty much no reward because he's one of those guys.
He's like Bivol was before Canelo.
Yeah, really, very, 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 very good, but just doesn't have that star power, that star attraction, doesn't bring a big purse. And those guys they're just crazy dangerous. You avoid them, don't you? It's a business. You like everyone else, you look for the big fights with the least way of getting hurt, shall we say?
In a way, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the easy fights, but you look at those ones where you're like, okay, that's a really big purse, and I'm probably not going to get, end up in hospital. I'm not going to get, severely beaten.
Yeah. I mean, hey, if he's patient enough, maybe he can get a Bivol moment. Bivol was waiting years for that moment and beat the best pound for pound king of boxing, biggest money generating star in the sport at the moment. So we'll see. And before that, Bivol couldn't get anybody in the ring with her because, like you said, he was one of those guys who was stuck in that, in that hole. Too much talent, not enough financial reward to fight him. So, the risk was way too high, and the financial side wasn't worth it for a lot of the opponents across the ring from him. Moving on, news and notes. Jarrell Big Baby Miller is back. Oh yes, we said it. He is back after popping for all those banned substances a couple of years ago. He comes back. He returns. He reportedly has a bout set for June 25th on Triller. Maybe they'll have him fight and maybe make him and Pulev later on down the line. Maybe they'll offer it to Kovalev, like, hey, Kovalev, you want to go up to heavyweight? Let's put you in there. You never know. It seems like all their fighters here are all big guys. That's how they're relying to be anchors of their platform, their broadcast platform. So, I mean, we'll see. Big Baby Miller, if he pops again, man, just imagine that. If there's any testing, honestly, if there's any testing. Floyd Mayweather's exhibition, which was supposed to happen, I believe, a week or two ago in Dubai, was postponed because the president of the United Arab Emirates passed away. So, like a day or so before the actual event, he was supposed to fight on top of that hotel, like on the helipad or something, which actually would have looked pretty cool. But I think it's been rescheduled. I'm not sure if it's this weekend or next weekend, but
next weekend
or next week or something like that. So, it's been rescheduled. So we'll see how it turns out. But I wonder if he's staying out. Like, I wonder if he stayed out there the entire time. He's like, okay, well, I'll just stay out here. But from a entertainment standpoint, it'll kind of look cool with the camera angles that they should have with a boxing ring on top. That's kind of cool. I mean, we're not really looking forward to the fight, but from a entertainment perspective, should be pretty cool. Also, Josh Taylor is no longer the undisputed champion at 140 pounds. The Scotland native was stripped of his WBA title as the organization announced this past weekend for his refusal to proceed with a mandatory defense against Alberto Puello. I think everybody kind of knew that. I don't think anybody expected Taylor to stay at 140. So I'm sure it doesn't matter to him. I'd be surprised if he stays at 140, even now that they took one of the major sanctioning bodies took the belt away.
According to Todd DeBuff, today he announced that he's in talks for Josh Taylor, Jose Zepeda.
At welterweight or 140?
140.
Wow, no way. No way.
That was announced a few hours ago.
Maybe, you know what? Maybe, it could happen. You never know. That'd actually be a pretty cool fight. Zepeda can fight. He can crack.
The problem, the thing, if you're Josh Taylor, you got to look at it like, do I take a tricky fight against Zepeda, or do you take a more lucrative fight at 147?
Who's he going to fight at 147?
The more bigger names, though, right? I know Crawford looks to be. I'm trying to think of somebody who would bring him a big purse.
Crawford's not going to do it because he has to go back and work with Top Rank. He's not going to do it. He's not going to do it while that lawsuit is still pending. I'm telling you, he's not.
Yeah, thinking about it now, there isn't many names, is there?
Yeah, there isn't. That's probably why. I think the initial plan was to have Josh Taylor move up to 147, and they looked and explored possible names. Maybe they made offers and they got rejections. And they're like, hey, we can't get you anybody decent. We're going to have to get you somebody lower on the lower ranking system or something. And Taylor was probably like, no, forget that. And they're like, unless you want to stay at 140, we can put you in there with Zepeda or one of these other guys.
I think Zepeda's the WBC mandatory, isn't he? I think he's also top rank, so it kind of kills two birds.
Taylor's just too big. He needs to move up, but I'm thinking it's just the availability of decent matchups at 147 pounds. He's like Terrence Crawford. It's the same thing. So they're just like, oh, well, just stay at 140. Maybe we'll make it a catch weight at like 142 or something like that. You never know. Going back to the Charlo-Castaño fight, Keith Idek of BoxingScene.com, which is owned by CBS Showtime, parent company. So transparency there. But he reported that Charlo-Castaño on Showtime this past weekend peaked at 132,000 viewers. It was Showtime's most watched fight in nearly 3 years. Those numbers were the highest for Showtime since Deontay Wilder's first round knockout of Dominic Brazil in May 2019 at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. Hey, I think that's great for boxing. I'm sure Showtime noticed that. You put an undisputed fight between two of the best fighters in 154 pounds in the world, and people tuned in. That just shows you that people want to see the best fight the best. You're like, oh, there you go. We got this many viewers, and okay, who fought? I'm sure there was television executives at Showtime and CBS who said, what the heck? That was a great pop in the rating. What happened? What's going on? What are we, who aren't boxing fans, like, oh, well, we had the two best fighters at 154 pounds fighting for all the world titles. It was a rematch. It was one of the best fights of the year last year. So people tuned in. We're like, oh, we need to get these guys to keep fighting each other, to keep popping a rating like that. That's good for boxing. Good for boxing.
Yeah, peaking at 832,000 is that's a good number, because the rumors were that we're going round at Showtime and Fox and stuff. We're getting sick of PBC, and they were looking.
Well, we haven't really seen anything on Fox lately, right?
Yeah, the rumor was that that they were looking at maybe not extending the deal at the end because they weren't doing the numbers. The stuff what they'd been promised, the package that they'd been promised wasn't what they were getting.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting.
And Fox is like a network thing too. So like their bar is a lot higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just a pay-per-view a month. That's what they've been doing this year.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, good for them, especially because this was on regular Showtime and not pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Because if they would have put this on pay-per-view, it wouldn't have worked out well. You know, hardcore boxing fans, yes, but to hit the casual fan and the regular Showtime subscribers, boom.
Like a quarter or a fifth of that.
Exactly. Rounding off news and notes, the monster Naoya Inoue and Nonito Donaire are set to match up on ESPN Plus on June 7th. The ESPN Plus broadcast will feature 2 undercard belts as well as of this episode. Hey, man, if it's as good a fight as the first one, I'm all for it. Donaire, Donaire's going to go in the history books. He's already a Hall of Famer. Let's just say he comes in and he beats Inoue. Oof, man. He has something to prove here, and he's trying to do it in Japan again.
Unbelievable matchup. And for people that are listening, that's a Tuesday.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
It's going to be midweek for us guys. But definitely a fight. Yeah, I was going to say it's going to be silly o'clock in the morning. If the first fight is anything to go by, then it's worth waking up for. Set your alarms, get up, get a coffee, get whatever you need, and then that will definitely wake you up and have you buzzing for the rest of the day. Hopefully, you know, if it's even half as good as the first fight, then we're going to have a candidate for a fight of the year. And like we said, probably last time, you know, this could be the last time we see Nonito Donaire, first ballot Hall of Famer in a big fight. Yeah. We've been saying that for a long time and he keeps proving us wrong, but
enjoy him while he lasts, man. Enjoy him while he lasts. He's one of the last of Mohicans from that era and he's still going. So
exactly.
You know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's a great matchup. Hopefully it lives up to the hype, especially of the first one. But once again, guys, we appreciate you guys listening to the Last Round podcast each and every week, whether this is your continuous ride with us, over 200 episodes in total with our regular episodes and bonus episodes. Whether you've been with us since the beginning or today's your first episode, welcome. And we also thank our consistent listeners. But before we sign off, let's do our regular routine. Mike, go ahead and let them know where they can find us and follow us.
We are at The Last Round 12 on Instagram and Twitter. And be sure to join us next week. We'll be reviewing all of those fights and previewing Gervonta Davis, Rolando Romero, and Erisandi Lara against Gary Spike O'Sullivan.
Spike O'Sullivan. I haven't heard that name in a while. He's back. He is back. So from my co-host, Michael Shepard, I'm Danny Z. This is The Last Round.
Thanks for supporting and listening to the show. Follow us at The Last Round 12 on social media. Rate, review, and subscribe. This is The Last Round Podcast.